Who will end up trading for Davante Adams? A very large question. Many people want to know the answer to. We'll break down the latest on him and other NFL key topics in just a second. But get your predictions in for me in the comments of today's show. Let's talk Adams trade. The Athletic and ESPN both reporting that the trade talks should pick up this week, with the Raiders now trying to move him more frequently. The hamstring injury should be less of a concern, and the Raiders willing to move on from whatever the hell happened between Adams and Las Vegas. Maybe they just didn't like the quarterback. Who knows? Now, the Raiders reportedly want a second and more. I would be pretty surprised if they got the and more part, and they might not get the second. Now, maybe they can get a couple extra picks overall and get close to second value, but I think given the age, the contract stuff we'll get into with Davante Adams, the value is not as high as it was when Las Vegas first traded for him. I think there are 5 main teams to watch out for here. The Jets, how does the firing of Robert Saleh impact this? Are they going to trade assets with an interim head coach? I don't know. The Saints, having now lost Derek Carr, it seems like for several weeks, is a question mark on the desire to go play with Derek Carr. Now he's not going to be there. It's all interesting. The Steelers, who are in the market for wide receiver help, but are they willing to meet the demands? The Ravens, I think, are a pretty sneaky, solid option. The Bills still need a legitimate number 1 receiver. It would give you more time for Keon Coleman, let Khalil Shakir be the slot guy. I think Ravens and Bills are nice value picks there. Don't expect the Chiefs, by the way. I very much don't think that the Raiders would have any interest helping out a division rival by exploring the idea of adding Davante Adams and sending him to Casey. That doesn't strike me as something that they would want to do. Adams is still a really good football player. Is he the same obvious top 5 receiver he was at his prime? Probably not, no. But he'd still help a contender. And you would feel good if you added him. Like that is the fan base is excited type of pickup. And I don't think anyone would blame the fan base that ends up getting him. I don't think anyone would be upset by that one. So first question, or I guess second one of the day. First one would be the pinned comment. How about that? Will the Raiders get a second-round pick back for Davante Adams? Type 2 for yes or 3 for no. 2 for the second, 3 for the third or later. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's video if the ad comes here on YouTube. Now, here's how the contract works. If you trade for him now, before week 6, you owe, I'm rounding on these numbers here, $12.56 million. That drops by just under $1 million each week. 11.59, 10.62, 9.65, 8.69. Now, the Raiders can eat some of that money if they want to. It's all roster bonus stuff or game time bonus stuff and additional base salary stuff, so that they can eat some of that money if they want to. They might not want to, and that might boost the trade value, which I think is probably worth it, since you're going to be paying some money this year and next year for him no matter what. Now, long term, Adams' contract for 2025 and 2026, that big, heavy base salary, is not guaranteed. He will not play under it as currently constructed. One of 2 things will happen. He will get extended, or they will cut him. And that extension could come before or during the trade process right there. In general, with the way the contract is set up, with some potential desperation teams get closer to the trade deadline, patience and or eating money could help the Raiders get more back in a trade. So I think they have their asking price. They would love it if somebody met it, but they might be willing to wait a little bit longer, or maybe they go, we just don't want the distraction anymore, and we're going to take whatever we can get. I'm curious how the Jets and Saints developments, head coach firing, quarterback injury could potentially impact this as well. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. If you're trying to go to a football game, a baseball game if your team's still in the postseason, an upcoming basketball game, upcoming NHL game, Game Time is the place to do it. because you're going to save the most money. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out some of the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It is curation designed to save you even more money. Toggle the all-in pricing feature to show your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. The lowest price guarantee from Game Time is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? It's game time. Let's talk to Deshaun Watson before we come back to more trade rumor stuff here. To, I think, few people's surprise, frustration, yes, surprise, no, Kevin Stefanski has backed Deshaun Watson again, but the calls to bench him are very loud. And I can't say I blame anybody involved. Now, look, it's not just Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. The running game has not been very good. The quick passing game has struggled. That's certainly some part of the Deshaun Watson blame there. The offensive line has not played well. Obviously, there's been a lot of pressures there. But there's also no way to ignore this fact. Deshaun Watson doesn't look good in Cleveland. He looks significantly worse than what he did in Houston. The numbers have skyrocketed. The interceptions, the touchdowns have not been very good. The accuracy has gone down. The yards, everything is bad. And if you go back and look at some of the film stuff, yeah, the offensive line's bad. There are guys open. He's just not. Deshaun Watson is not seeing the football field well. He is not processing. He is not reading defenses properly. Some of the advanced stats back this up, by the way. His pressure rate is third highest. That's an issue. The average time to pressure against, the first one is just Watson. This one is all Browns QB, so it is just very much only a, but it's mostly a Watson stat, is tied for 20th. So the average time is longer than most teams, which means their quarterbacks holding the ball long. The average time to throw is 7th highest. The pressure to sack rate is 6th highest. So yes, there's pressure. Yes, the offensive line is getting beat. But Watson's holding the ball forever. And it's not just the pressure stuff that's bad. When not pressured, Deshaun Watson goes from overall playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in football to one of the worst quarterbacks in football. He is 27th out of 32 in completion percentage. Dead last in yards per attempt. League average in touchdowns. Bottom 10 in interceptions. And the worst EPA per play. Now, one of those I'm pretty sure was the drop by Amari Cooper that picked off, so wasn't just Deshaun's fault. But when not pressured, he's terrible. I can't win with that. Like, he is a problem. He's probably the problem. So should Cleveland bench Deshaun Watson? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. One of the issues here is your ownership willing to say, you know what, let's just deal with the Watson contract shit. Let's play Jameis Winston. I'm convinced if you put Jameis Winston out there on the football field, just like last year with Joe Flacco, the offense overall suddenly gets better. The big issue you face here in Cleveland is this contract sucks. This is one of the worst contracts ever given to a player. Now, they have restructured this deal repeatedly, which they might as well have because it's fully guaranteed. They couldn't get out of it unless they get the NFL to suspend him for something. Like, look, he's a $73 million cap hit next year and in 2026. There's dead money in 2027. If you cut him this upcoming offseason, You owe him $172 plus million next offseason. Now, the reason why it's so high is you've restructured some stuff. That's fine, but you were already paying it because you gave him a fully guaranteed deal to get him to come not play for the Falcons. I think that's where he wanted to be until the Browns sweetened the offer. Like, you can cut him post June 1st and you only lose an additional $46 million in salary cap space. They're screwed. That is a horrible spot to be in. Like, you can barely afford the rest of your team. It is an albatross around your neck that there's really no signs of life. And it might end up costing Stefanski's job, even though I really don't think it's his fault. We'll stick in Cleveland here with the Amari Cooper trade. The trade rumors around Amari Cooper continue because the Browns are struggling. Amari looks off, by the way. He'll say the right things publicly. But if you're just not going to be a good enough football team and you're going to do a multi-year rebuild, you're going to have to look into just shopping and selling some players here. In 2024, Amari Cooper has 8 drops this season. 8 drops. That by the way, I don't think it's an accident that Amari Cooper's 3 most dropped, or excuse me, with the most drops, have come from Browns quarterbacks. That's probably not an accident that all of a sudden his most drop years happen to be in Cleveland. Maybe not the most catchable balls. Now, I think he's regressed a little bit too, but he can still help you out as a football player. I think that is the case. And his contract is very team-friendly. It is basically the vet minimum. Now, I think in what is probably the most damning Deshaun Watson stat out there, well, there's a lot of them that are out there. Per ESPN stats, 45% of passes thrown to Amari Cooper have been off target this season. Unbelievable. Every time a ball goes his way, he can't catch it. It's off target. That sucks. That's bad quarterback play. Now, Amari's pretty cheap the rest of the way. The Browns, with their philosophy is, if we're going to have you on our roster, we're going to restructure your contract and push it off in the future and save money, which I actually don't mind it as a strategy. It's just an issue when the quarterback contract is really, really, really bad. Cooper's due the vet minimum. So if the Browns keep losing games, teams will call. Teams will have interest in him. So name a wide receiver who you think ends up getting traded. We'll talk some other names here in a second, but let me know in the comments section of today's show. Some other trade targets here that I think are worth monitoring have been mentioned by other outlets, etc. DeAndre Hopkins, if the Titans keep losing, veteran player teams are going to call about him. The Christian Kirk status with the Jags, contract's kind of high, but similar mold of there of Hopkins if it all falls apart in Jacksonville. Jalen Hyatt's requested a trade, allegedly, and then said he didn't, so weird stuff going on there. He's also not playing in New York. The Patriots allegedly shopping Tyquan Thornton, which I don't know who wants him because he's not very good. So he's available, though, for a washing machine. Maybe is the trade value there.